Hey guys, welcome to another video. In this one, I'm looking at my updated camera and controller settings. FIFA 21 controller settings, they added a lot of new things on this game. And at the start of the year, I did do a video over on my YouTube channel about these, but I'm giving you guys an update to them now that I've learnt the game a bit more. We've had the game just over a month, and I've actually discovered how some of the controller settings work. This FIFA, more than any in the last few that I can remember, added a lot of new features, and quite a few of these features are in the controller settings. So I'm going to go through the controller settings, I'm going to go through my camera settings, talk you through how each one works, why I use what I do. So hopefully it'll give you some better ideas about how to play the game, and it might actually help improve you some things that you didn't know about before. To get to them, you can pause it and do it from there, but generally I think it's easier to go to the main menu. So we go to the main menu, customize settings, customize controls. So you do not want the FIFA trainer on unless you're an absolute beginner. If you're an absolute beginner, it's okay, but basic pops up, it's quite distracting, but it'll tell you which buttons to press to do what. But even if you're a beginner, I'm not sure you'd need it. Time finishing. I'm not sure that time finishing's that great this year. Basically, what it is you shoot, and as you power the shot, just before you're about to hit the ball, you press shoot again. And if you do it well, then you can get a green shot. If you green it, it's supposed to have a bit more power, a bit more accurate. But the risk is if you mistime it, you hit it yellow or red, then it's going to be a lot worse. I have it on just so I can mess around with it when I'm winning a game. But personally, I think for most people, they'd probably rather not have it on. Next, player switch indicator. When you're defending, you'll see two players indicators if you have this on. One, which will be fully filled in, will be the player you're controlling. The other, which will be slightly greyed out, will be who the next player switch is. That means if you press L1 or LB to switch, it will switch to that player because he's the nearest one to the ball. Or if you press R1 or RB, the second man press or second man contain, he will be the one that runs towards the ball to press the opponent. That isn't that strong this year, but that's how it works. I personally think it's definitely worth having on. I've seen a lot of people don't use it, especially when I'm analysing games. For me, a big part of improving at the game is switching, getting a bit better at pressing, so I'd have it on. Pass block assistance basically means players are more likely to intercept a pass automatically. Occasionally, this will cause a player to auto-lunge in, which is really annoying, but the amount of times where it'll help you far outweighs this, so I would definitely have it on. Auto switching, I think it's essential that you at least have it on for air balls and loose balls, because when someone crosses it, it's too hard to quickly switch to someone in the air, so I think it's good to have on for that. Auto, I definitely wouldn't have that on because I don't think the game does switch to the best ones. Manual, it's too hard to switch to the air balls, so air balls and loose balls are what I have on. If you think when you switch you're not very quick at reacting, I would have the auto switching move assistance to low. I don't think you'd want high, as I think it would just override you too much. I have it on none, but low can work. The jockeying, assisted or manual. Personally, I have it on assisted because I find when you have it on manual, at times your player just won't move properly or jockey properly, whereas the assisted, it helps you a lot. I wish the game didn't have features like this, but whilst it does, I'm going to use them. The auto flare pass. One of the things that used to really annoy me on FIFA, like it used to really get on my nerves, was when players would do auto passes or clearances without me pressing a button, and I'd lose the ball because of it. The auto flare pass, I think it's worth having off, because it would do back heels and stupid passes that I knew wouldn't work when I didn't want them to. It still sometimes does it even when you have this off, but having it off reduces it greatly, and you can still do back heels and fancy passes by pressing L2 or LT as you do the pass. Auto clearances, again, I have this off. The amount of times where it'd auto clear it and help you is very rare. Whereas the amount of times when you have it off and you can play out the back and not clear it is a lot easier. When you have it on, the amount of times it'll clear it for you when you just don't want to clear it because there's no need to. So having it off is very helpful. If you think you really are struggling to react quick and get rid of the ball, then it might be worth turning it on. But for me, one of the best ways people improve at the game is starting to get more confident on the ball, playing out the back, not giving the ball away stupidly. If you're giving the ball away stupid, you're not going to get half the ball as much, your opponent's more likely to win. Auto shots is definitely worth having on, because the only time it will ever auto shoot is when it's pretty much a guaranteed goal. I can rarely think of a time I've seen an auto shot when it didn't turn into a goal. It's like when there's a quick deflection, your player just instantly shoots. So I think definitely have it on. Again, it's not a feature I think should be in the game, but whilst it is, we're going to use it. Player lock. This is basically to use the creative runs. Jambu did a video on the creative runs, so make sure you go back and watch that if you want to learn more about those. But yeah, worth having on in case you want to have a go with it. You can't really accidentally do this anyway, so it's not going to hurt you. Contextual agile dribbling. This is one of the ones that I've experimented with, and some pros say you need it, some pros don't. Personally, I want as much control over my dribbling as possible, and I found at times when this was on, well, to start with, contextual agile dribbling is when you press R1 or RB whilst dribbling. They do little touches and micro movements. For me, when it's on, occasionally it will help me, but a lot of the time it would end up messing up an attack because my player would dribble in a way I didn't expect and it would throw me off. I think it's better to have off because I don't think the agile dribbling is that great anyway, so I wouldn't use it. Assisted headers, this only really matters if you're playing offline. I have it turned on because it was just the default, but when you're playing online in Rivals, Champs, Draft, it's turned off anyway because you have to hit manual headers. That's something to bear in mind, by the way, if you don't know about that. Heading, passing, and shooting is manual on this year's game. The passing, the right stick switching, I have it on player relative. I find it very easy compared to the ball relative one, just to quickly switch to the players I want. I never really tried ball relative too much. It's probably just worth experimenting with, see which one works for you. All the passing ones I think it's worth having on assisted. The cross assistant, if you don't have it on assisted, you can't do that crazy driven cross that works so well in this game. But for me, the assisted on all these just works really well. Save assistance doesn't really matter. I've tried manual, semi on some of these and it just doesn't work anywhere near as well. So make sure you have assisted on, in my opinion. Analog sprint, I have it off because when it's on, your players might not sprint as much if you're not moving the analog stick the whole way. You want your players, when you choose to sprint as much as possible. Tactical defending, you need it on because that's what you use online. You don't want to use legacy defending and get worse at the game because you're trying to use the defending that you can't even use online. Pass receiver lock. There's two ways of looking at this. Basically, it's when you pass, where you aim, how long does the game give it until that's where it locks onto. If you have it on early, it'll basically be when you press to pass, you've not got hardly any time to change the direction. Where you aim is where it should go. With late, you could change it the last split second and it's supposed to go where you aim. So I personally have it on late. I use classic buttons. I don't think it matters too much. Just make sure if you are using a different setup that when you're watching videos, tutorials, that you make sure you get the right buttons. Okay, that's the control settings. Camera settings is in game settings. For me, there's only a few cameras that I'd recommend. I personally use telebroadcast with the default settings. It's just what feels comfortable for me. Tele is one that's fairly decent to use. Jambu uses that one. Co-op, a lot of people use it. I personally don't like it because whilst it's zoomed out and maybe lets you see more of the game so you can maybe spot more passes, I find it harder to defend and dribble because it's just not zoomed in as well. Classic could be used, but I don't think it's great. Dynamic, too zoomed in. End to end, don't want that. Pro, don't want that. Broadcast, weird angle. So for me, telebroadcast is definitely the one that I would recommend, but want any of those free. You can mess around with all these settings to find something that works for you, but that's what I would recommend. Guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate you watching it. Thank you for your support. Have a great day.